Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Custom Knife Factory and Rotten Design Rotten EVO 3.0, the third generation of this knife. At least that's my understanding. This is mine. I paid for it. I did the pre-order and then I waited all the months and then I paid the full amount and now it is finally here. I would imagine that many people watching this, right, actually have theirs and they're just looking to see what I have to say about it. Right now, your only option, if you're wondering, where do I buy that? I want to buy it, right? Your only option right now is the secondary market. These were pre-order only and they went very quickly. And I would imagine, I'm going to guess that in the future they will do another run, right? But for now, I want to give my thoughts on this knife that I paid a lot of money for. Holy crap. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. Believe me, I am going to, as somebody who paid full price for this, I did not get any favors from anybody. I have a couple of nitpicks, and we are definitely we're going to talk about that price tag, right? But let's go ahead and do what we usually do here in the review. Overall length of the Rotten EVO 3.0 is coming in at about 8. It's exactly 8.5 inches. Blade length is coming in 3.85. Is that correct? That can't be right. Wow. Okay. Yeah, 3.85. Cutting edge is coming in at 3.5 inches. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? It's a big knife. I'd call it a full-size knife. It's not as big as any of the monster cold steels or whatever people wave around to express their authority in crowds. Yeah, it's a full-size knife for sure. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Where are you, buddy? There you are. Yeah, a little longer than the PM2. Definitely longer than the Para 3. And last but not least, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. All right. So how's the action on this guy? It's extremely good. I reviewed the 2.0. I never got to handle the 1.0. If you're wondering what's the difference, I don't know. I honestly can't remember the difference between this and the 2.0. I have a review on it. You can watch it if you want to. That one was not mine, but that's the one that made me decide I wanted it, right? The first one was huge. I don't know if it was 8.75 or 9 inches, 9.25. I don't know. The second one was a little smaller than this, and this guy is kind of in between. And this is about the size that I prefer. This is a good size for me. I was very interested in it. The action is fantastic. Disengagement of the lock bar is very easy. You can use these stops. They're meant as blade stops, but you can absolutely use them as thumb studs. You can use the thumb hole, which is beautifully simple to use, both in reverse flick and just standard, thumb flick. The reverse flick on this guy is just amazing, right? This is just so stupidly simple to manipulate. I love it. It's very much, it's unavoidable, right? It's got a very stridery profile. But this handle profile is not necessarily exclusive to Strider. It just kind of has the full package Strider silhouette, which is why so many people say that. It's still doing enough of its own thing that it's hard for me to, even come close to thinking the word copy. But I can understand why people say it looks stridery, right? But very, very easy to manipulate. The cutout is wonderful. Dropping it down to this position so that you can turn it and let it fall into place. Just beautiful. Manipulation on this thing. Ease of manipulation is off the charts. I love it. And that's what I loved about the 2.0. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It does have a pretty thick blade, but honestly, the combination of the blade and the scales doesn't come out to a super thick knife. It's definitely on the more robust side. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here, this guy is about the same closed length as the PM2. Definitely bigger than the Para 3. In terms of height, absolutely as tall, almost exactly as that hump in the PM2. If you're used to carrying knives that are smaller than the PM2, you're going to notice this. Around the same size as the PM2, like let's say you alternate between a Hinder XM18 and a PM2, or something like that. Like this is right around that area, right? So for some people, it's going to be too big and heavy. Not for everybody. Let's take a look at the inside here real quick. This guy does come with some internal milling, which is good because it would otherwise be even heavier. Materials. On this blade, we are looking at, you can see right there, M390. This is number 103. These were absolutely numbered. So titanium and M390. Wow, we've never seen that before, right? Weight is coming in pretty freaking heavy still at 6.31 ounces. This is almost exactly the same weight as my full weight Hinder XM18s. It's up there. The ratios are not perfect. Now, fortunately, there is a lot of blade. The blade is very tall, so your actual balance point is literally right behind the pivot. It's actually very well balanced. So in hand, it doesn't feel anywhere near 6.3 ounces, right? The better the balance, the lighter it feels. So honestly, I don't have that much of a problem with it, but you might. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I'm pretty sure that pivot is a T15. Let's take a look. Oh, I think it's bigger. I think it's a T20. Oh, hallelujah. I am a huge fan of oversized fasteners on knives. And it is a freaking T20. T20 pivot, and it looks like, do we have T10 body screws? Sorry, hold on. Why is this? There we go. Hexagons are a confusing shape. There we go. Let's find out. It's either T10 or T8. It is a T10. T10 pocket clip. Is it? Yeah, T10 body screws. And I think the lock bar insert screw is going to be a T8, but that's fine. You don't have to mess with it. Beautiful. If I could make every folder on the planet a T20 pivot with a T10 hardware, that'd just be awesome. You're way less likely to strip anything, right? Obviously, it's not pulling away from the look of the knife, so I don't know why so many knife makers are like, oh, we can't do anything bigger than T6. It has to be. It'll ruin the T10. T8 at least, but T10 obviously will work just fine, right? I love the big oversized T20 pivot. That is just wonderful. That should make any, disassembly and, reassembly, it should just make it, easier. On top of that, those of you who have this knife know that you got a big old bag of replacement hardware, which is awesome. So I really can't complain. This is beautifully simple to take apart. Big fasteners, right? Just perfect. That's the way to do it. Let's go ahead and measure that blade stock thickness here real quick. I bet that thing comes in at 165 thousandths at least. Could be thicker. Hard to tell. Oh, nope. Yeah, it's going to be about right around 1/5 of an inch. So we actually have, is that really? I think the scale thickness is throwing me off because the scales are really not all that thick, but this is, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at XM24 territory for thickness. Thick blade, definitely. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. This is a very good looking knife. And I'll tell you what, I ordered the most plain Jane version of this. They had versions with the black scale and they had something else and a couple other things in between. I think they even had a crazy, what was it, $1,800 for a Timascus front scale and a Damasteel blade. Cool. And, sure, it would have been tempting, but not, I don't know, for $1,800, right? In fact, all of them were very expensive, and we're going to get to that, right? This is a very appealing looking knife, and it has been, here's the thing. Regardless of what you think of how this looks, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, the fact of the matter is that this thing is wildly popular for its aesthetic. It has sold out every single time it released, right? Every version of this has sold out due to, the look of the thing. And it's pretty nasty looking, right? You got this big old sort of clip Spanish freaking cleaver butcher's knife. But I don't know what to call this, right? The blade is super tall, and it has a very wicked hollow grind on it. So despite it being 195 thousandths, right, or about a fifth of an inch or so, it is super duper. Is that right? Did I do my fraction? I don't know. Right around 100. It's probably, I think they actually had it at 190 thousandths. Was the actual measurement. The blade tapers down to a very thin cutting edge, and it has no problem slicing whatsoever. And that's pretty cool. This is actually a very utilitarian blade shape, lots of belly, draw cut, stuff like that. The main thing here, aside from how it looks, is that it has some of the best ergonomic lines that I have ever seen in my entire life. And, I'm gonna get out a Protect Strider that I own, because I should have had this ready for the video, sorry. It does have lines that are very similar to a Strider, but this Protect Strider that I own is almost identical to an actual Strider SNG. So, here is a Protect Strider, right? And here it is up against the Rotten EVO 3.0. We do have similar lines, but you can see here the main similarities are just the taper here, this line, and this line. Now, if we're going to get really, really hung up on how close those lines are, I've got about 500 other examples between 2 or more companies on my channel that are not Strider and are not CKF/Rotten for you to get upset over, right? People seem to zero in on this one, but, having them side by side, I would venture to guess you can pick out more things that are not similar than things that are similar, right? The back end of the knife, pretty different. Blade shape, pretty different, right? So that's really where it is. I get it. The silhouette is similar, right? But people, for whatever reason, seem to get really, really hung up on that. And they scream, copy! They're wiping tears from their face, right? And then they're taking salt and dumping it back in their eyeballs. And, just chill out, man. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, it's got a similar silhouette. All the way around, this thing is very, very aesthetically pleasing. The chamfering right here, really, really nice. I love what they did with the titanium here. They could have easily just given us like just a freaking tumbled, flat titanium surface. But no, this is actually contoured, right? And the pocket clip, while it is huge and it looks like, some type of future canoe paddle of some sort, it is very knocked down at the edges. It's nice. It's a nice full 3D milled clip, right? This is one of the best ergonomic experiences that I have ever had on this channel. This has beautiful hand melting ergonomics. It is so unbelievably comfortable. I just absolutely love this. And, it's the reason that I prefer also like the Spyderco Shaman. It's the reason I prefer the Manix, the Demco 8015, 8010, 8020. It's the reason that I prefer the non-flipper XM18s, right? All different, but all very similar in terms of where you put your hands. This area that sinks in here is particularly comfortable and creates a really nice choke up spot. All the way around, the fit and finish on this thing is essentially perfect except for one spot, and you probably have seen it. I don't know if the belt just caught it weird, right? This is also part of the reason why I hate satin finishes, because it's easier for goof ups like this to show through. You can see that there's this area right in here where it's slightly darker than this area. Now, if I turn it like this, you can't see it, right? But every now and then I can just see this one little spot, right? And I think this side, yeah, there's a spot like that over here. So yours might look like that or might not. This is, again, it's part of the reason why I just freaking hate satin finishes, right? Number one, they look boring. And number two, if the belt touches it a little more, if it, then you're going to get a little spot like that, and then it's going to look a little uneven. I mean, overall, functionally, the blade is perfect. As far as like where the lines go, the symmetry between either side is also perfect, right? Functionally, the thing is fine, but oh my God, for $650, yeah, you heard me say that correctly, and believe me, again, we are going to talk about that price. Holy crap, right? But listen,
You can't be doing that. We can't have a nyeh right here and a nyeh right there. We can't have that, right? We've got to find a way to make everything consistent. That's annoying to look at. At first I thought, oh, it's just, I can just, clean it, get some WD-40 or something and clean that off. It's just like a discoloration because of somebody touched it with their thumb and then it just sat in the box for a little. No, actually, that was not the case. It just is that way. This is one of those knives where I'm considering having the thing, like I was considering customizing this anyway, like further customizing it. I'm actually considering having a mirror polish put on the entire blade. I'm doing something similar with the handle scales. It just makes me want to do that much more now that I have this weird little imperfection, right? Otherwise, the tumbled finish here looks great. Truthfully, I would have just preferred they kept the same freaking finish right here. Or if you want more reflectivity, then do a high polish tumbled finish because that should be a little bit easier to make it aesthetically consistent, right? Got a swedge up here and then down to this sort of curved taper down to the tip, whatever we call this, right? No matter what I label it, the blade shape, like right now, the blade shape, police are on the edge of their seats waiting for me to call this something particular so that they can correct me. It looks like the Mighty Duck logo. So that's what we're going to call it, the Mighty Ducks blade shape, right? That is now officially a recognized blade shape. So we're just going to have to accept that is, right? The jimping up here is wonderful. It extends out to a very useful zone, and it is absolutely functional jimping. Not too sharp, but definitely grippy enough to work with bare hands or with gloves. The inside of this hole right here has been knocked down, so you're not going to be shaving your fingernails off every single time you deploy it. The actual cutting edge is very consistent. You can see right there. Beautiful, and it's the same on this side. Maybe if I turn it, should I turn it like this? Yeah, there we go. Same on this side. Really, really wonderful. No extreme billboarding on either side. They have the CKF logo here, and then we have just the M390, the numbering, and then the Rotten EVO design, or the Rotten design right there, which is great. We get to look at the knife, and we don't have to look at the logos. Back here, I'm sure you noticed, looks like you can touch the blade. You absolutely can. And unfortunately, that is just the way that this design is. It gets really narrow in here, and the blade is still really tall. And so there's a little spot right here where we can touch the blade. Perhaps a backspacer that extends up to here and has sort of a U-shaped, internal part so that the blade's not touching it would help. The problem is it's going to bring the balance back from here to probably about right here. Maybe that's why they didn't want to do that. Do I find myself touching this blade a lot? No, in fact, I don't. Unless you constantly run your finger. I mean, just running my finger over this part naturally, no, nothing. You do have to get in there, but it's close, right? I also noticed that it seems like there's a little unsharpened portion right there, and that is the case. Now, I wondered, was that just mine or is that all of them? They're all like this, apparently, and that's to keep you from cutting your finger really bad if you happen to get too close to the edge while you're choking up. I don't think that that's going to happen. I really wish they had just gone ahead and sharpened it, right? In fact, that's something I may do myself or, have done for me when I send this thing off to be customized. But it is what it is. It's kind of an annoying little thing right there, like being able to touch. Some people call that a deal breaker. It would be a deal breaker for me if the blade was literally sticking out of the back, right? But, if you find yourself like noodling into your knife often, you're like, ow, it's my noodle time with my knife and I keep cutting my finger, right? I guess it'll be a deal breaker for you, but most people don't do that. Even when you reach into your pocket to grab your knife, right? A lot of people use that as an example. Well, if I'm reaching into my pocket to get my knife, I'm going to slice my finger. I don't reach into my pocket and grab my knife like this. I grab it like this. What? That's such a dumb example. That makes no sense. I don't even think the people who are saying that are thinking about how they grab their knife, right? Either that or they just grab it in the dumbest way. Like, just no, right? But again, I get it. This is a valid complaint here. It's just mildly infuriating, right? It's not like throw my hands up in the air and cry myself to death infuriating. No, it's just mildly infuriating. Oh no, guys, there's no lanyard hole. Moving on, we have a clip mounting position that makes it to where there is a decent amount of booty sticking up out of your pocket here. Still not what I'd call shallow carry though. This is still medium, and there's quite a bit of clip. Honestly, the size of the clip is a bit unnecessary. It's a bit too much, but okay, it works fine, and it really doesn't cause much of a problem. I mean, in the hand, like, I'm aware that it's there, but the clip itself is also, I think, well, no, it looks flat. I thought it was contoured. The edges are so knocked down, right? And there's no sharp edge or anything like that. The only thing that's kind of annoying is that this is one of those clips that actually angles down at the end. Okay, there's enough material here, and there's a little bit of a ramp that, truthfully, do it right now on these pants just to see. Yeah, it goes in and out. The tension is, oh boy, there's a lot of tension on that clip. It's real pinchy, right? But you can get it in and out of your pocket. You might just have to use two hands. Once it's in your pocket, it's not going anywhere. There is a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop, so that's great. Look at the closed position stop pin. What a fat barrel of a stop pin. That's crazy. In the open position, it does not utilize that stop pin. It uses these two external stops, which I like. Instead of just the tang contacting the one stop pin, you have two stop pins contacting either side of the titanium, giving you an additional point of contact, which is nice for stability and lockup, and at the same time maintaining a smooth action and a centered blade, which it does actually. This one's slightly off, and I'll tell you why. It's because I adjusted it. I was looking for like maximum action and getting it, super duper smooth. And I'm realizing now that I over tightened it and it actually went over to this side. Backing this out a little bit, it makes the blade go way over here, but I'm the one who did this. The blade actually came to me perfectly centered. I Loctited it though, so if I want to do that over again, I'll have to undo it. But to be honest with you, I'll nitpick the things that are worth nitpicking, point out the flaws that I noticed. But to be honest with you, the blade on this was centered, and then I made it off center and just wasn't paying attention. Lockout is completely and totally solid. No blade play up, down, left to right. There is zero lock stick, zero pivot lash, extremely consistent pivot action, and a nice detent. I would call this about medium. Some people call it light. It's about where I want it deploying the knife as it is. I'll admit, though, the detent could probably be a little bit heavier, and it would still be just as easy to manipulate. I don't like the little unsharpened portion on the edge there. I don't like that I can touch it if I dig at it, right? Touch the sharpened portion of the blade while it's closed. And I really don't like that little, mark on the satin finish of the blade. The part that makes me mad, though, let's say all that stuff was non-existent. Let's say there were no issues whatsoever with this. The most frustrating part is that this knife costs $650. Now, I know you're thinking, well, Metal Complex, it's clearly a custom knife. I mean, it says right in the name of Custom Knife Factory. These are not custom knives. That's the name of the company. But this knife is not a custom knife, at least not by the very broad definition and constantly argued over, right, definition of custom knife. No, this is still like the way that they produce this is entirely production. There are no hand elements in this whatsoever. They are limited run, and they are made extremely well, and it would not surprise me if many of you received these with zero flaws on your on your blade, right? Like the satin finish is totally perfect. Still, though, what the heck? At $650, this should be an integral knife, and even then, that is ridiculous. Now, obviously, there's a part of me that thought it was worth it because I bought this, right? And that's the confusing part, the psychological part of this. But as the owner, as the person who spent this, I just knew, I was like, I'm going to want this thing. And I didn't expect to see the price tag was going to be so high, but I just really want it. So I'm going to buy it. I would venture to guess that the vast majority of people who bought it also felt the same way. I mean, man, that's pretty presumptuous, but I'm going to assume, I'm just going to use the power of assumption and cast it upon these people that I don't know who also bought the knife. But wow, holy crap, no. This to me is $450, $500 at best. This thing is massively overpriced, But wait, there's more. The only place to buy this, like I said at the beginning, is the secondary market, and you don't even want to know. Don't even go there. This knife is not worth picking up secondary. And, truthfully, if they release this again, they're going to do the same thing, and the price is going to be absolutely ridiculous, and people are going to buy it. They got me, obviously, right? I mean, they knew that people would want it. And it's made very, very well, and it was small batch, right? And those things do. We can't just, the simple thing, the really simple answer that people apply, they go, it's just titanium and M390. I can get titanium and M390 from Tucson. Stop. If that's all the more you're going to apply to it, then, the way that you rationalize this stuff has just got too many flaws. There's way more to consider, way more variables than just that. If you're reducing it to just the materials and you're not going to apply anything else to it, I'm sorry. I mean, I still have to say it's my opinion, but my opinion is that you're wrong and that your opinion is that there's not a lot to it, right? That's the nicest way that I can put it. This is made extremely well. It is made way better than knives that come in at $200, $300, even $350, right? This is in the $400 to $500 territory. Absolutely. It's really hard for me to make an argument for this thing above $500. Had they put it at $500, I'd have been like, it's fair. Doesn't blow me away, but it's fair, right? $550, I'd have been like, this thing's a bit high, right? $600, I'd have been like, whoa, where the heck are they getting that? $650? Who the heck would buy this for $650? This guy, apparently, but I'm still mad about it. I like this knife. I guess I'm happy that I'm in my collection, but every time, even though it was a long time ago that I paid this much money for it, I mean, I put $150 down and then was invoiced for $500, which I gotta admit lessened the psychological blow of that. But every time I look at this, I'm like, I paid $650 for this. It's really cool and I like it, but I'm also angry at it, right? It's like a good friend that you can't get over some, past event that kind of scalded the relationship, right? It's like, stupid! We're still friends, but I'm mad at you, right? Dang it! I like these. I like Rotten designs too. I think they're really cool. Gosh dang it, the freaking price on this, right? It wouldn't make it that much easier to choke down if these little issues right here, right? It's almost like, ironically, I'm wanting to send this thing off and spend more money to have it customized so that I can feel better about how, the total amount of money that I have in it, right? It's almost like I have to mitigate. I have to mitigate by paying more money to have it customized. So there you go. That's my review. To make this even more confusing, this is not a recommended knife. Secondary, if you can find this thing on the secondary market for under $500 and it's in perfect condition, buy it. Absolutely. You will love it. I have no doubt about that. It's not going on my most recommended knives playlist, but, I have a separate playlist that defies all logic and reason, and that's my Metal Complex's favorite knives playlist. And I gotta admit, this is one of my favorite knives. As angry as I am with the price tag, it is absolutely one of my favorite knives. I know you're thinking, what are you telling us? It's so mixed. This is such a mixed review, right? I don't know. It's just, I can't help what my heart likes, I just like this knife. It's cool. So that's about it. It's going on that playlist. It's not going on any other playlist. Anyways, please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.